There's a saying that goes, the eye is the window into the soul. And so eye contact is a critical tool that we have to build an emotional connection with our audience. It's a way for us to really get at their heartstrings. When we maintain eye contact with our audience, it does a few things. It helps boost our credibility. It really shows our command of the topic, that we're able to look at them and recite our information clearly and correctly. It also allows us to assess our audience. When we are watching our audience, making eye contact with them, we can notice things like if they're nodding along or if they have a confused face. And so we're able to assess our audience in time to know if we need to adjust course or are able to keep speaking how we had planned on speaking. Although maintaining eye contact seems like the most obvious thing we need to do when we're giving a speech, it is often much easier said than done. And so in this video, we're going to cover some techniques and tips about how to improve your eye contact and practice in a way that allows you to maintain eye contact with your audience. And now when I think about improving eye contact, I usually think about 3 different phases. There are 3 phases that we go through when we're trying to improve and create a more dynamic eye contact with our audience. The first phase is for those who are just starting out. If you're a beginner, no worries. You're going to start here at phase 1, which just involves you trying to look at one specific place in your audience while you're giving your speech. Our goal is to start getting up from our notes and looking at our audience. The next phase, phase 2, is about trying to move around a little bit, identifying 3 different places that we can look in our audience or in the room that we're in that will start conveying eye contact to different parts of our audience in different areas of the room. And finally, when we get to stage 3, we're an expert, and that involves us being able to dynamically and fluidly look around the room, making sure that every single person is getting a little bit of eye contact from us as we are giving our speech. Let's start by talking about phase 1. When we're stuck in phase 1, not really able to give much eye contact, there are usually 2 things that are happening that are preventing us from looking up at our audience. First is simply lack of preparation, that we don't know our speech enough for us to actually look up from our notes to look at our audience. We need to start practicing and memorizing our speech before we're able to look up at our audience. If we don't know our content by heart, we're not going to be able to look up and deliver that content to our audience. And so we need to start practicing our speech out loud, trying to memorize it, going through our speech a number of times so we get more comfortable with it. And as we do that, when we are starting off, we might include some notes to ourselves in our notes about looking up. I usually write like look up at the top of a page, or maybe I'll put a little mark or a dash at a place that I know that I want to look up at my audience to make a point. The second thing that might be happening is just our nervousness. It is really hard to make eye contact if we are already a little bit nervous or anxious about our speech. And so for us to address the issue with eye contact, we first need to address the issue with our nervousness or our anxiety. Some ways that you can kind of work on the anxiety is to put cold water at the back of your neck, or for you to take deep breaths before you give your speech. Or you might also envision the audience thinking that your speech was really well done, as opposed to you thinking the audience will know that you mess up. Because I know anxiety is such a big issue around public speaking, I've created a number of videos about that. So please check out some of my other videos about speaking anxiety to help you improve phase 1 of your eye contact. Then when we start feeling comfortable enough to look up at one spot in our audience, we can progress to phase 2, which involves trying to look at multiple places, usually 2 to 4 places where we know we can look up and make eye contact. Again, one of the ways I remember to make eye contact this way is to write down in my notes or use symbols to signal look to the right, look to the center, look to the left, so I can remember where I want to look. And at this phase, it might still be difficult to look at specific people. What you can do instead is find objects in the room to look at them. Maybe to your right, there's a pillar, and to the center, there's a clock in the back of the room, and to the left, there's a table. So you can start by practicing at looking at that pillar, that clock, that table to get you used to looking around the room as you're delivering your speech. Another thing to note in phase 2 is that you don't need to look at people right in the eyes to make eye contact. Looking someone right in the eye can be a little bit more anxiety inducing. So what you can do is look at their forehead or just below their eyes, maybe their nose or their mouth, and that still conveys to them that you're looking at them and engaging with them. And then we move to the final phase, which is phase 3. In phase 3, we're going to be trying to give eye contact to as many people in our audience as possible, and we really want our eye contact to be fluid, kind of just surveying the room, and dynamic, making sure that everybody gets a little bit of that eye contact. I did want to make a quick note here that sometimes our audience is just too large for this. Maybe we're in a large auditorium and there's no way we're going to be able to look at every single person. If that's the case, we still want to make sure that we're looking into as many areas as possible. One way to practice phase 3, providing this dynamic eye contact, is to use props. Look around your room and try to find as many small little things as possible. Maybe you have a teddy bear, maybe there's a book, maybe you have a small TV or an iPad or your phone, and place those props around the room. And when you're delivering your speech, you want to make sure that you're giving eye contact to every single prop, and you also want to make sure that you're remembering giving eye contact to every prop while you're delivering your speech, so you know that you're making that dynamic eye contact. And so with those techniques, marking places in your speech where you want to look up or using props, you'll be moving from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, and in no time you'll be delivering a dynamic speech when it comes to your eye contact. Now we know that there are other important aspects of our delivery as well. In our next video, we're going to be talking about another key element of delivery, which is vocal pauses. Negative vocal pauses can really hamper our credibility and make it harder for our audience to follow our message, but well-timed, purposeful pauses can enhance our content and make it easier for the audience to understand our organization. So check out our next video on some tips about how to improve your vocal pauses. And as always, if you appreciate this video and if you've learned something from this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to support the channel. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Have a good one.